Hi everyone, it's Nick Altmeyer with linkinglewiscounty.com. Filling in today for Rebecca on today's episode of Hear All About It. So today we have Nadeen Lyndaker, who is the association or the director of the Lewis County Maple Producers Association.
Yes.
So today we're here to talk about the upcoming Maple Weekends. So we have 2 Maple Weekends coming up at the end of March. So What are the dates of those?
The last 2 weekends is, I'm going to have to look, March 19th through the 20th and March 26th through the 27th, Saturday and a Sunday, both last weekends of the month.
Okay, so just so people kind of have an idea, this is something that goes on every year. Maple industry is, as everyone knows, is pretty large here in Lewis County. So what exactly is Maple Weekend and what can people look forward to?
Maple Weekend is like the opening for New York State Maple. The New York State Maple Association actually designates the end of March for Maple Weekend for people to go out and get the education for maple syrup, see how it's made, boiled, the process of it. Well, there's lots of activities going on. The producers open up their doors, and we have a special group that have actually signed up through the New York State Maple Association. And they can go right through there through mapleweekend.com, and they can go to some of these producers that are open in our area.
Okay. So we'll pop a list up on the screen so people can kind of see some of the producers here in Lewis County that are participating. I think you got some in Jefferson County on the list as well.
Yes.
Okay. So just so people have an idea, obviously Lewis County has a very rich history of maple syrup making. So we kind of run the gamut. There's a little bit of everything here as far as producers. So we have everything from, we still have some of the sugar makers that are doing it the old-fashioned way, that, maybe they're out collecting the sap with horses and putting buckets on the trees and tap the trees that way, right up through to some really high technology operations here in the county where everything's automated and things like that. So people will kind of be able to see some of the history. We have a large variety of producers within the same. Our Lewis County Maple Association is actually 4.5 counties. We're actually representing today. We're going to do Lewis and Jefferson County. Mm-hmm. We have a couple in Oswego, Oneida, and there's Upper Herkimer is where our group is. Okay.
For our Lewis County, we have producers that are going to have horse-drawn wagon rides going through the woods. You're going to have your natural tractor rides also that go through. You're going to have buckets on the trees. Some of them don't have buckets. Some of them have gone more high-tech. They do the tubing. Some of the tubing now is kind of interesting where they're hooked up to satellites. So they're actually hooked up to the producers where they have a hole in a line or there's a tap that fell out of the tree. Those producers will get a ting that's probably connected to their computer or to their phone, and then they have to go find that. It will generate them an area where they're having trouble on their vacuum lines, which is your tubing lines.
Okay.
And so that's a new high-tech thing that they can go fix the problem and correct it and have that nice flow from a tree for sap that goes directly into your tanks.
Okay. So kind of the whole point of the Maple Weekends is to get people, it's a very family-friendly event, to get them out into nature, into the sugar houses and visit. So each of the participating producers here, they're expecting people to come and they're going to have demonstrations and they're just going to be able to show you, how the product is made. So,
right.
Right from getting the sap out of the tree to the whole process into boiling it into syrup. And there's also a lot of producers in the area that do things with the product after it's made into syrup.
A value-added product. Mm-hmm. So people can go to find your sugar house, go to it, see what they're offering. Everybody's offering something different. Like we have the horse-drawn wagon rides. A lot of people are doing demonstrations of making maple sugar, maple cream, maple floss, which is actually a cotton candy, but we call it maple floss. Those are demonstrations. People can look, they get their fingers in there, they can taste all that sweet goodness there. There's also value-added products that come from the process after syrup is made, after the sugar. Your first process is your maple syrup. Mm-hmm. When you boil down your sap, you're making maple syrup. Once you get to that point, you want to boil it a little more, you're going to come up with a maple cream. It's just a higher heat temperature. Mm-hmm. Then from there, it's a maple sugar cake, which some of us call maple molded sugar or maple sugar shapes. It's a soft candy made out of maple syrup only. After that, it goes to maple sugar, which is your higher heat that you've made, where you've stirred it and it turns granular and you have pure maple sugar.
Okay.
From that process, then we switch over to the value added, what they can make out of it. So you can go from a infused syrup where you've added a blueberry or vanilla bean. You can do, people use a bourbon barrel, which actually syrup is put in a fresh dumped bourbon barrel. And it sits for quite a bit of time, usually 6 to 9 months. It's tested, you take it out for your flavoring. There's no bourbon added into it, but it takes the flavor of the oak. It takes the flavor that was put in there from the bourbon that has been raised.
Right.
So, and then it's bottled. Everything is food grade. A lot of producers have to go through a special inspection that they want to make the best quality product for the consumer.
Right.
So people actually ship it out in barrels, or they ship it out and they sell right from their home. Many people have websites. But for Maple Weekend is to get the public out, let them see what's going on, have them get out in the woods, enjoy the weather. Sometimes you can get some good weather, sometimes you can get some bad weather, and it definitely has been a pretty crazy season right now.
Right.
Some of us producers at this time are a little slow getting in there. Some of the snow loads are getting a little bit high. Some have had some good areas, but it's also a lot of work. So starting out with a producer trying to get out in the woods, a lot of producers work in the woods year round.
Right.
So they're fixing tubing or changing tubing, they're getting their cleans, or maybe they're even building a new little shed.
Right. And it seems like we've had a little bit heavier of a snowpack in most areas in the county this year, as opposed to the last few years. So I'm sure that makes a difference with the producers being able to have access to the trees and tap.
We all know that maple syrup product is always in the spring of the season. So you want freezing nights and warm temperatures to warm those trees up. The sap starts flowing up the trees. We don't suck out the sap from a tree. It only gives us what it wants to. We don't harm the tree whatsoever. There's also forestry management. We try to keep your woods clean.
Right.
So that works. At the end of the season, when we're cleaning up, it's a big job to clean up. You're walking through, the grasses come out, lots of millers, the bees are starting to come out.
Right.
And the bees they're actually smelling that sweet stuff.
Right.
And they're waking up from their dormant time, and you know when they're around, when the season's changing and your sap gets a little cloudy or whatever.
Right.
But in the middle of the season, you've got a fresh smell. You can see the smokestacks are just rolling, the steam's coming out, and you can smell it when you walk into a sugar shanty.
But it is a very weather dependent industry. I mean, you could have a season that runs for a couple weeks to a season that might last a month or longer. Sometimes.
Correct. Last year was a short season for many of us. If a person is actually on top of the ball, they can hopefully get ready, and it just takes a lot of work to get everybody involved. But once the weather turns warm and stays warm in the evening and warm in the morning, your season's going to end pretty soon.
And that doesn't mean that the sap stops flowing. It just means that it's not a good quality to use to make syrup anymore. It gets like a different flavor.
It gets a different flavor. There's 4 grades of syrup. We have our golden, our amber, dark, and very dark. It's from your lightest in color, from the lightest in flavor, to your dark, to your very dark, strong flavor. Your dark syrup and your cooking syrup, very dark, is usually for your cooking. So people are really learning what they can use with it. They're, like I said earlier, they're making value-added products out of this, from barbecue sauce to mustards. They're doing spice rubs. You're doing you're infused if you're adding a vanilla bean, if you're adding a coffee bean. I mean, there's really different things that you can add to syrup. And when you put it on a pork, when you put it on your vegetables, if you're doing a seafood, it's the things that you want to use and enjoy later on. And maple syrup is used all year long. It's a natural sweetener. It's healthy for you. And when you go to a grocery store and you see a bottle of Aunt Jemima, look at the ingredients. It's corn syrup. And you want to buy local, keep it local. It's always good. And you spread the word out. People enjoy it better. There's just so many different things you can use.
Right.
Being in the outdoors, especially for Maple Weekend, and you can get out there, you can see what's going on, you can ask questions. Producers are wonderful about answering any questions you have.
Yep.
They share in what's going on.
Yep.
They
you just
have
see the product getting made, and
you see the
many
product
of them
getting
give
made.
out samples. Most of them have their products there for sale.
Yes.
Anyone that interested in purchasing it.
Yep.
So
you'll have sugar cakes to cream to lollipops to
Yep.
hard candies, and all these producers, they work really hard on getting their they want to serve the community around them and the community outside.
Right.
And they will have stuff for samples, they will have stuff for sale.
Right.
They'll have drinks. There's maple milk out now. I mean, there's so many value added products now that are made with maple syrup.
And it's very family friendly and child friendly. So
Yes.
bring the kids out. It's a great way for especially the young kids to learn, like, how the food gets to their table, so they can really see the process of how
Oh,
it gets
yes.
made and things like that.
Oh yes,
So,
it's when the kids get out there, and even the parents, they're watching their kids or their grandchildren going out there,
Right.
or even the older families that have been out there who used to do maple sugar, and it's such a big change of how it used to be done with the horse wagons and a wood fire. Now we're using tubing, and we're using big tanks and RO systems, which actually takes raw sap and concentrates it, takes the water out and concentrates so you can boil less time. People don't have time to be out in the woods like they
Right.
used to.
Right.
And it's
kind of makes things a little more efficient.
a more efficient way of doing things
Right.
earlier. So yep, it works.
All
And
right.
it's a free program.
Right.
So it's free for everybody to come out, enjoy the woods, get out while the weather is nice. And yeah, you do have some wet days, but you're going to be undercover inside a sugar bush.
Right.
So it's lovely to get out and see what's going on.
Right.
Yep.
So once again, we'll pop up on the screen some of the producers that are going to be participating here in Lewis County, and
Correct.
there's also some in Jefferson County. So just a reminder for everybody, the Maple Weekends are scheduled for March 19th and 20th,
Yes.
and March 26th and 27th.
Correct.
So those are both a Saturday and a Sunday, the last 2 weekends of March, and it's 10 to 4 on each
10 to
of those
4.
days. And one other thing that we should throw in before we close here is that at the International Maple Museum, which is located in Krogan,
Yep.
right on Main Street in Krogan. So that's the International Maple Museum.
The
Yep.
International Maple
They'll be
Museum
doing-
and Center. Pancake breakfasts are coming back.
Okay.
We are only doing Saturday the 19th, and we're also doing the 26th.
Okay.
If I'm right, yes, 26th. Only Saturdays. A lot of producers are in the woods, so most of us who are at that museum are producers.
Gotcha.
So we're only doing the 2 days. It is from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And it's all you can eat pancake breakfast with our famous pancakes and our sausage, orange juice coffee. You can tour the museum while you're there and visit some people out and about and ask questions there too.
And what's the cost for the all-you-can-eat breakfast?
It's $12.
Okay.
And I do believe it's $7 for 10 and 5 to 10.
Okay.
And 5 under is free.
Okay.
So, yep, that's
All
what
right.
we have.
So that's another thing going on throughout the Maple Weekend, and that's
It
the
is.
Saturdays.
That's the Saturdays. We're not
Yeah.
doing the Sundays this year. Hopefully, it's been a few years that we've been able to open up, and we're more than happy to open our doors.
Right. All right. Well, we really wish you the best of luck with the Maple Weekends coming up, and I know it's a busy time of year for all the producers and all the work that goes into making the syrup, like you talked about. So everyone, if you get the chance on either of the weekends, come out, see how the maple syrup's made, and pick up some product. And like we said, it's just a great family event, and it's a great way to show the children how things are made.
Yep.
And done.
I will tell people you'll see posters coming up. Going around Lewis County, you might see signs on the side of the road, Maple Weekend, come here, we're open. If you want to go to a particular place, you can Google mapleweekend.com.
Okay.
And you can get all your correct addresses, your GPS, your phone numbers, so you can actually see who's in the Lewis County, Jefferson County, Oswego, Oneida. You can see everybody, see where they are, and you can go visit everybody. And there's more places to go.
Make a day of it. Like we said, there's so much of a variety in techniques and the way that people do things
Yes.
that It's definitely worth it to visit a couple of the different producers just to see the differences and how they do things. So.
From horses to the ROs to, I think I've even heard that some producers are going to have food trucks.
Oh, very
so
nice.
that's something else that they're getting on. You can grab a bite to eat while you're there. That's one of the good things about Lewis County. Let's get it out and get the information out.
Yep. All right. Well, once again, March 19th and 20th, March 26th and 27th. Hope to see everybody out at Maple Weekend. Thanks for stopping by today, Nadeen.
Oh, you were so welcome. Thank you for having us.
Yep.